In the year's early nonage, when the sun tempers his tresses in Aquarius urn, and now towards equal day the nights recede, when as the rime upon the earth puts on her dazzling sister's image, but not long her milder sway endures, then riseth up the village hind, whom fails his wintry store, and looking out beholds the plain around all whitened, whence impatiently he smites his thighs, and to his hut returning in, there paces to and fro, wailing his lot, as a discomfited and helpless man. Then comes he forth again, and feels new hope spring in his bosom, finding e'en thus soon the world hath shined its countenance, grasps his crook, and forth to pasture drives his little flock. So me my guide disheartened when I saw his troubled forehead, and so speedily that ill was curd, for at the fallen bridge arriving, towards me with a look as sweet, he turned him back, as that I first beheld at the steep mountain's foot. Regarding well the ruin, and some counsel first maintained with his own thought, he opened wide his arm and took me up. As one, who, while he works, computes his labor's issue, that he seems still to foresee the effect, so lifting me up to the summit of one peak, he fixed his eye upon another. Grapple that, said he, but first make proof, if it be such as will sustain thee. For one capped with lead this were no journey. Scarcely he, though light, and I, though onward pushed from crag to crag, could mount. And if the precinct of this coast were not less ample than the last, for him I know not, but my strength had surely failed. But Melbulge all toward the mouth inclining of the nethermost abyss, the sight of every valley hence requires, that one side upward slope, the other fall. At length the point of our descent we reached from the last flag, soon as to that arrived, so was the breath exhausted from my lungs, I could no further, but did seat me there. Now needs thy best of man, so spake my guide, for not on downy plumes, nor under shade of canopy reposing, fame is one, without which whosoever consumes his days leaveth such vestige of himself on earth, as smoke in air or foam upon the wave. Thou therefore rise, vanish thy weariness by the mind's effort, in each struggle formed to vanquish, if she suffer not the weight of her corporeal frame to crush her down. A longer ladder yet remains to scale. From these to have escaped sufficeth not. If well thou note me, profit by my words. I straightway rose, and showed myself less spent than I in truth did feel me. On, I cried, for I am stout and fearless. Up the rock our way we held, more rugged than before, narrower and steeper far to climb. From talk I sees not, as we journeyed, so to seem least faint, whereat a voice from the other fosse did issue forth, for utterance suited ill. Though on the arch that crosses there I stood, what were the words I knew not, but who spake seemed emovied in anger. Down I stooped to look, but my quick eye might reach not to the depth for shrouding darkness, wherefore thus I spake, to the next circle, teacher, bend thy steps, and from the wall dismount we, for as hence I hear and understand not, so I see beneath, and not discern. I answer not, said he, but by the deed. To fair request silent performance mocketh best return. We from the bridge's head descended, where to the 8th mount it joins, and then the chasm opening to view, I saw a crowd within of serpents terrible, so strange of shape and hideous, that remembrance in my veins yet shrinks the vital current. Of her sands let Libya vaunt no more, if Jaculus, Parias and Kellider be her brood, Cenchrus and Amphispina, plagues so dire or in such numbers swarming near she shewed, not with all Ethiopia, and whatever above the Erythraean sea is spawned. Amid this dread exuberance of woe ran naked spirits winged with horrid fear, nor hope had they of crevice where to hide, or heliotrope to charm them out of view. With serpents were their hands behind them bound, which through their reins infixed the tail and head twisted in folds before. And lo! On one near to our side, darted an adder up, and, where the neck is on the shoulders tied, transpirked him. Far more quickly than e'er pen wrote or eye, he kindled, burned, and shined to ashes, all poured out upon the earth. When there dissolved he lay, the dust again uprolled spontaneous, and the selfsame form instant resumed. So mighty sages tell, the Arabian phoenix, when 500 years have well nigh circled, dies, and springs forthwith renascent. Blade nor herb throughout his life he tastes, but tears of frankincense alone and odorous almumum, swaths of nard and myrrh his funeral shroud. As one that falls, he knows not how, by force demoniac dragged to earth, or through obstruction fettering up in chains invisible the powers of man, who, risen from his trance, gazeth around, bewildered with the monstrous agony he hath endured, and wildly staring sighs, so stood aghast the sinner when he rose. Oh! How severe God's judgment, that deals out such blows and stormy vengeance! Who he was my teacher next inquired, and thus in few he answered, Vanni Fucci am I called, not long since reigned down from Tuscany to this dire gullet. Me the bestial life and not the human pleased, mule that I was, who in Pistoia found my worthy den. I then to Virgil, bid him stir not hence, and ask what crime did thrust him hither. Once a man I knew him choleric and bloody. The sinner heard and feigned not, but towards me his mind directing in his face, wherein was dismal shame depicted, thus he spake, It grieves me more to have been caught by thee in this sad plight, which thou beholdest, than when I was taken from the other life. I have no power permitted to deny what thou inquirest. I am doomed thus low to dwell, for that the sacristy by me was rifled of its goodly ornaments, and with the guilt another falsely charged. But that thou mayst not joy to see me thus, so as thou e'er shalt scape this darksome realm, open thine ears and hear what I forebode. Raft of the nary first Pistoia pines, then Florence changeth citizens and laws. From Valdimagra, drawn by wrathful Mars, a vapor rises, wrapped in turbid mists, and sharp and eager driveth on the storm with arrowy hurtling o'er Piceno's field, when suddenly the cloud shall burst, and strike each helpless Bianco prostrate to the ground. This have I told, that grief may rend thy heart.